I'll still keep asking the question. Your eye is still on what you call the low-hanging fruits of Bayelsa status as well, which is oil and gas, power, and tourism. Now, how much are you really looking for in dollar terms?
Well, that is, I mean, that is a difficult question to answer because I don't know whether it will be possible to really quantify in exact dollar terms. But let me tell you what we're looking for, and then maybe we can take it from there. What we're looking for is to create massive employment. What we're looking for is to create a massive growth in small and medium-scale businesses that are Bayelsa-based, that are growing and occupying that space in the economy. That's what we're looking for. Now, how do we want to achieve that? We want to achieve that by, like you said, focusing on the areas where we have comparative economic advantage. One of that is in the secondary industries that can come out of oil and gas, like fertilizer plants, like refinery, refining plants, and petrochemicals. And then in power generation, because we have gas. Agriculture, we have huge potential in oil palm production. We have huge potential in rice farming. So now, if you ask me, I can say to you specifically that for somebody who is going to set up a mill, for instance, to explore rice farming, because that's where critical capital is required, the average mill will cost you between $10 to $15 million to set up a mill.
A rice mill?
A rice mill, yes. A rice mill operating in conjunction with outgrowers who are growing the rice, supplying that to the rice mill, and then the rice mill doing the packaging. So if I had an investor, for instance, who is saying, you know what, I'm willing to invest $15 million to set up a rice mill and take advantage of the great rice, because I mean we have about 2,000 hectares between Isampo and Perimabri. These are areas where rice has been grown, and it is clear that the potential is there, and that can be jump-started again. We're good to go. So I can break it down in that context. If you look at power generation, for instance, I know that today, if you're looking at, say, a 500 megawatt power generation capacity, you would be looking at, say, between $500 to $600 million to set up that kind of plant. We have some companies with whom we've signed MOUs. One of them wants to do 500 megawatts. Another one wants to do 305 megawatts. Now, the going rate internationally, I gather, is about $1.2, $1.3 million per megawatt. So if you use that guide, that is how I would arrive at that. For us, many times, when we're looking at these investors, we're looking at them coming to invest their money, taking advantage of the clear economic potential that exists on ground. Our commitment to them is to create the enabling environment to facilitate all the documentary, bureaucratic processes so they can do what they do best. Where they are seeking partnership with us, we have the Bayelsa Development and Investment Corporation, which is set up as a company, a corporation that can partner, and they can ask those detailed questions. My role is really to ensure that the policy is right and to ensure that we create the necessary context, for people to come and invest. I see myself more like, almost like a conductor of an orchestra. We just want to create the context. Let those who are good in the different areas of business they want to engage in come in and take advantage of it.
It's been about a year since you put up the Bayelsa Investment Corporation. You set up an office in London. And talk to us about the last 1 year. What has been the level of interaction between Bayelsa State and international investors, perhaps Nigerians in the diaspora, who are interested in saying, look, this is a state that is very rich, population very small, manageable, there's peace in that state. Okay, so let's go ahead and do business there. What's been the feedback?
The feedback has been good. The Bayelsa Development Investment Corporation it's a company, and at the end, its operating format is that of a company. So we take the role. I sit on the advisory board. There is a management board, then there's an advisory board. As the advisory board, our role is basically to make input every so often, but the fiduciary board has the day-to-day responsibility. Now, what we do, like with any business, is that you set, they have their targets, and they will report at the end of the year as to how well they're doing or not. So there's a management in place, and I know that they are involved in, I just gave you one example, the breast fertilizer, which is a major, major project. I mean, this would be the first major fertilizer operation in Nigeria since the days of NAFCON, which later became Notori. You probably remember NAFCON, Nigerian Fertilizer Company, which was recently bought over by Notori. Yeah. So this is perhaps, since that era, the next major kind of investment. That alone is going to keep them very occupied for some time because they are partnering with Brass Fertilizer to bring that project to fruition. So that's one example of what they're doing.
A state of about 2 million people shouldn't be very difficult to handle in terms of job creation with the kind of projects that you have on ground. So what's your target?
Our target is, you see, we have unemployment. The statistics tell us that we have about 60% youth unemployment today, which is just, I mean, and this is not just in Bayelsa State. This apparently cuts across the country. I think in Bayelsa State, it ramps up to about close to 70%. That's what the statistics say. Now, we want to significantly dent that because that I mean, it's a tragedy to have a situation where, you know, people in the prime of their life can't. But you see, to attack that, it's like a mixed grill. On the one hand, one of the major challenges with huge unemployment is when people come to the job market with unemployable skills, when they're not employable because they don't have the necessary skills for the job market. So we have the Enterprise Development Center in the state where we're looking at interventionist measures. How do you get people who have gone through university but suddenly find they can't get jobs because they perhaps did a course of study in universities which doesn't just necessarily translate to a job, or people who didn't actually even finish secondary school. So we're then looking at things like vocational training, enterprise training to create those interventions, because you have people who, even with take for instance, the example I just gave, even with Brass Fertilizer coming on board, if we don't ramp up the skills quickly, a lot of those jobs may go to people who are outside the state because, you know.
And you can't stop them from coming.
You can't stop them from coming. So that's one area. But if I were to take a safe bet, I think over the next 4 years, we're hoping and praying that, of course, people seeing the performance of the governor in his first term, that come December this year, when he goes for re-election, that he'll be re-elected. Now, if, and I'm very optimistic he will be re-elected based on his performance, when he is re-elected, then we can look at another 4 years over which we can say we would create at least maybe a 35% dent in that. If we maintain our consistency in growing, in Brass Fertilizer coming on stream, those are the power generation companies coming on stream, and being able to kickstart what we want to do in oil palm production, rice production, I would safely say that about 35% of that unemployment will be dealt with.
A very interesting Niger Delta belt there. You have a number of your neighbors building some entertainment, sporting facilities, like very big stadium, golf course, and things like that. You don't have nothing in Bayelsa State. What's going on?
No, we actually have a golf residential estate. Ours, the concept is a bit different. What we thought to do
tourism.
Yes, what we thought to do was to build a golf residential estate. So a golf course tied with the new Yanagwa city. So that's actually the master plan for that is more or less ready. So we are also moving in that direction. In terms of tourism, what is critical for us, first of all, is creating the necessary infrastructure to drive tourism. Bayelsa is a state that has rich tourism potential, but we need to create infrastructure for that. So that's
you need
also
to make Yanagwa very appealing.
Yes.
Yes.
And we are working, trust me, we are working very hard to make Yanagwa very appealing. As I said, it's a process. And if you look at it from when you last visited to now, you will see tremendous improvement. Now, I know that because of the great potential, sometimes even we ourselves, we sometimes get ahead of ourselves in terms of our own expectation, because we know that from our experience, travel, far and wide, we know that Yanagwa and Bayelsa State in total has great tourism potential. But we have to deal with the things, in a sequential manner. Some things have to be done first. Infrastructure has to be put in place, then we can take full advantage.
All right, I'm going to tick off coming to Bayelsa on my calendar again. I'll look for an opportunity. The last time I was there was when after the flood disaster that you guys inherited.
That's understandable.
That was when I came in last.
But since then, I mean, some of the roads, for instance, take for instance, during the flood, the road leading to the Niger Delta University was completely broken into. But that whole road infrastructure has been completely repaired, done by Julius Berger, and that was done by this administration. So I implore you, 29th, mark your calendar, 29th to 31st of July.
I'll try. I'll choose
come
the
for
time.
the
I'll choose the time, then I'll give you another scorecard. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much.
Kemela Okara, Honorable Commissioner for Trade, Industry and Investment in Bayelsa State. And that's about all for today. The markets reopen for tomorrow here in Nigeria. We're going to be around to take you through what to expect for the current week. We're keeping our eyes on President Buhari in Washington and what he'll be telling President Obama and others who he will be will interface with in the course of the week. A very interesting week. And of course, we're keeping one permanent eye on Godwin Emefiele at the central bank. Friday's interest rate decision. Stick around. We'll be back with you in the next 24 hours. Bye for now. Do have a great day.